Hello and welcome back to the Listening to Your Gut podcast. We have an exciting recurring guest here, a second timer on the podcast. We have today with us Dr. Michelle Jorgensen. She was on our podcast about a little over a year ago, and we talked extensively about really mind-blowing things that I didn't even know related to our oral health. And today I'm excited to have her back because we're going to be diving into her new book that's coming out in May of this year. I'm super excited to get my hands on it. So, welcome, Dr. Michelle, to the podcast yet again.
Yes, thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Michelle, I would love for you to just remind my audience, our viewers and listeners, a little bit about how your career in dentistry started and how it also changed abruptly too, with finding out that you had mercury poisoning. Could you kind of, fill us in and how that kind of changed the trajectory of really your profession and just how you kind of have changed your life according to such as well?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't intend to be where I'm at today at all. This has definitely been someplace that I wouldn't have predicted. I am a general dentist, was practicing with my father and we were taking good care of patients. The practice was growing. But at about 10 years in, I started getting really sick. And at first used to start to write it off as everybody has these problems. Everybody has gut problems and everybody's tired and everybody has brain fog and all of the things that we talk about and talk ourselves out of. And we've since created a word for this, right? We start gaslighting ourselves or whatever this might mean. Anyway, so that was happening, but things were getting pretty severe. I could not remember a patient's name from room to room. So I knew, and I've always had a good memory, so I knew something was really pretty significant there. And then I started having numbness in my hands to the point that I literally couldn't even hold instruments anymore. So it was serious. I went to doctor after doctor, no answers. Nobody could tell me what was wrong. So I ended up putting my practice for sale. And we didn't know what we were going to do. I was in my late 30s, four young kids. My husband worked for the practice as well. This was our entire livelihood. So it was pretty scary. And he was scared. We were all scared what was going to happen here. And finally, I found a practitioner who said, "Have you ever looked into mercury poisoning as a possibility for your problems?" And I said, "Well, no, I don't have any mercury fillings, and I've been trained that they're completely safe anyway." And he said, "I think maybe it'd be worth testing just to be sure." So I thought, well, nothing to lose. I certainly have a lot to gain if it could be the answer. So I got tested, and that's what it was. Mercury poisoning off the charts. And it was because when a dentist is removing silver fillings are 50% mercury. And if you think about it, where's the dentist's head? Right above the patient's mouth. So every filling I was removing, and I was a cosmetic dentist at the time, so every filling I was removing was filling my head with mercury,
Oh,
and I was deathly ill. So I had to figure out how to get better, and the only way to do it, the doctor said, was to quit putting it in. I had to quit putting mercury in if I'm going to actually get it out. So I had to figure out, could I keep doing my job, keep replacing fillings, but not get it into me? And I found that there was an organization that did just that. They had protocol for this and trained me how to do it. I didn't even know they existed, and started doing it for my own health. And then patients would obviously pay attention. They'd say, "Well, what in the world are you doing? It looks like a hazmat scene in here. Something's going on, definitely different." And so I would explain my story, and they'd say, "Well, gosh, I hope that this helps you, but I'm really glad we're doing it this way for me too. Isn't this good for me too?" And okay, yeah, absolutely. And that really started me thinking, well, what else in dentistry could be impactful for health? And what else do I need to learn? And doctors started teaching me, "Oh, well, you should look into this and you should look into this." And really, it wasn't from inside of the profession that I learned any of this. It was from patients, it was from other practitioners. And they would just say, "Well, I've heard the root canals are a problem," or, "I've heard that you should check where wisdom teeth were removed," or, "How about fluoride? Have you heard the concerns of fluoride?" And these were all things that were very much sacred cows inside of dentistry. So we didn't touch them. We didn't talk about them. We just did them.
wow.
And I've learned that there are things that we need to know about how our body works and about how our dentistry and our, just oral health, everything in the mouth, how it affects the way that we work top to bottom. So we started changing everything and the practice started growing. And that's really where we've gotten to now. We're a multi-specialty practice. We have patients from around the globe that come to help resolve chronic disease from the things that we find in their mouth. So, like I said, would never have predicted where I'm at now, but here we are.
Here we are. And that's just incredible too. And I love, just the trajectory of where you were to where you are now also shows how deeply passionate you are about finding a solution, right? Which is key, right? We're not just going to sit there and be like, well, I guess that's it. Like you are a doer, I'm a doer. There's many of us who are doers, right? And so you go out there and you find the solutions. And I mean, you also are a doctor of naturopathy. I also just recently realized that you have a certification of nutritional autoimmune specialty, which I'm an autoimmune warrior. So like I'm so curious, just to side tangent just a little bit, like what got you into, going down that path as well to get, those extra certifications and things like, and how has that helped, I would imagine, not only your health, but then the health of your patients, just sharing that knowledge with them.
Yeah. You know, in dentistry and dental school, we didn't have a nutrition class. We learned things like, oh, I took a pharmacology class, so I learned all about prescriptions, but I didn't take a nutrition class. Learned about embryology. I learned about the way, cells form, but I didn't necessarily have a chronic disease class. So there were things that I had learned, but there were real big gaps in my education as well. And honestly, dental school is largely it's a little bit of a mechanic trade. If you have a hole in your tooth, we learn how to fill it beautifully. And that's artistic, that's a mechanistic, that's a mechanical thing to do. But we aren't necessarily trained on, well, how does that filling affect the rest of you? Or the choice of filling materials impact you, or any of those kinds of things? And so as I went down this pathway of learning bits and pieces of my profession, my own profession, that I had never heard, I realized I have some serious gaps here. And that's not a comfortable place for me. I'm a learner, I'm a studier, that's just what I do. And so when I'm uncomfortable, I'm like, I've got to do something different. So I feel like to really, really make a difference for my patients and to really understand the background between to everything I was finding and learning and hearing, I needed to understand the body a lot more. And so that's when I went back to school and started learning and, got the different certifications and things that I've gotten just to complete my education, to fill in the gaps.
Mhm.
Because, not only has the profession divided into specialties, but the education system is divided into specialties as well. So I actually was fortunate enough. I did my first year of training with medical students. So I did learn head to toe anatomy and things like that. Most dental students are learning mostly just what's going on up here in the head. We forgot that the head's connected to the rest of us. So, perhaps we should know how the rest works and how they work with each other. So really, it was just my own, I can't answer my own questions right now. And so I better go find some answers until I can.
I just absolutely love that. So again, just what a testament to you as a human being and just an incredible knowledge giver to us all with what you've gained, and now you're able to spread that far and wide in your practice and with all of your patients. So I absolutely love that. I do want to chat just briefly for a moment before we dive into what's coming up next, which is your book that's coming out in May. I'm super excited about that. But I have to say, this is like a Bible to me. It is so
Awesome.
incredible. If you are looking on screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, this is called Self-Sufficient Living. This is Dr. Michelle Jorgensen's one of her incredible books that I absolutely love. It has taught me how to make soap, which I am super grateful for, amongst many other things, might I add. So, got to get your hands on that one. But I just love how everything you put out, whether it's, through social media, book-wise, resource-wise, it's all to help us better us holistically. And that's what you're all about, as the
Yep.
whole body. So just thank you, because this book's been a godsend to me. I know so many other people, I'm sure, appreciate it as well. And this next book that's coming out, like I said, in May. Oh my gosh, I just can't even wait. There's so many good pieces and parts to it. Tell me though, before we dive into some of the pieces and parts, what made you think like, I gotta write this book? This is the next
Yeah.
one.
So it's interesting. I tell my story about how I got sick a lot,
Hmm.
but I don't often talk about how I got better. I just kind of gloss through that part and go, oh, but this is what I learned, and this is how I'm helping all of you. But I don't often talk about how did I get better. And so that's really the genesis of this book now. And I realized it was a story that needed to be told. And it's interesting that you talk about my self-sufficient living book and some of these things because it's all tying back in, it all kind of comes full circle in this new book.
Mhm.
When I was really sick, I started questioning modern medicine just in general because I hadn't been able to stay well inside of that modern medical model and I hadn't been able to find any answers on how to get well either. And
Mhm.
this is my world. My grandfather was an internist, my father was a dentist. I was trained in modern medicine, this is all I knew.
Mhm.
And I became really distrustful of it simply because of my own experience. And so I started studying traditional medical practices. I started studying Ayurveda from India. I started studying Chinese traditional medicine, and actually that was introduced to me in my naturopathy program as well. I
Mhm.
started studying German herbalism and Native American medicine and all of these different traditional medical traditions
Yeah.
because for a couple of reasons. Number one, I've been always very connected and in tune, I feel, with the earth. I love gardening. I say, I think I was Mother Earth's assistant in a previous life.
Mhm.
I feel like if we take care of the earth, she's going to give us everything we need in return.
Mhm.
So I really liked a lot of these traditional medical systems because they tied everything back to the earth. They would classify our bodies based on elements, on fire, water, air, on these elements of the earth. They would talk about disease as natural things like dampness, or it's like a very Chinese word, and dampness in the body, and they would use some of these natural phrases and natural words, and so I was already attracted to that just because I love kind of that natural world piece. But as I really dove into it, I realized a couple of things. First, they were all actually talking about the same thing. They just were using different words because they had different languages. We were talking about Chinese in one and German in another and whatever it might be, but they were all really talking about a real similar concept, utilizing the earth and its elements and classifying the organ systems in the body in a certain way. They were all very similar.
Mhm.
The second thing I realized is that most people weren't going to do the same depth of studying that I had. So they were never probably going to come to this realization that I had, that it was all about the earth and there were ways that we could figure out how to keep ourselves well. And these were the things that people have been using to keep themselves well for centuries, not just the last 100 years that we've been using modern medicine for. So I was really kind of disconcerted thinking, why did we completely abandon all these things that we've known for so long
Yeah.
in the service of what we now term modern medicine? Why did we decide that they had to be exclusive? We had to do one exclusively or the other. Why couldn't we just put them together? And that's when I found some cool things, like, for example, aspirin. Aspirin has been known to be a pain reliever for centuries. It was white willow bark. So the bark of a willow tree was used to alleviate pain. Well, where did aspirin come from? From the bark of a white willow tree, from a white willow tree. So a lot of our pharmaceuticals actually just originated as herbs and medicines our grandmothers and their grandmothers were using. And then modern medicine came in and said, well, what is it in that bark that's making the difference?
Mm.
And they found salicylic acid or salicin. And then they turned that into, then they, basically concentrated that down to aspirin. Now this is aspirin. So I love that we're using traditional knowledge and wisdom and then adding modern scientific knowledge on top of it to make it even better. That's the way we need to utilize these medical practices. That's how it needs to work.
Yeah.
So that's why I figured out I needed to write this book because I thought nobody else was talking about this. Nobody else is talking about where medicine came from, how it really works, and how it really works in our body. So that's what I get into in the book is how does medicine really work in our body and how can we keep ourselves well? How can we regain the ability to keep ourselves well?
You truly are Mother Nature's messenger. I
Exactly.
just I love it. So that makes so much sense. So can you tell us like how the book is broken down? When we dive into it when it comes out in May, what are the different aspects of the book that we need to be aware of? And do we read it cover to cover or are we skipping around? How is it laid out?
Yep, good question. So the first premise is that we really have been asking the wrong question in medicine today. We often are asking which medicine is better.
Mm,
Is traditional medicine better? Is modern medicine better? Which one's wrong? Which one's right? This is like airways and social media is saturated with all of this questioning. And
right,
there's just a lot of overwhelm and frustration. And, people are just kind of stuck because we are not lacking in information today.
right.
We're lacking in clarity.
Yep.
So really what I do is I pave a way through all of that information. And the best example I have to use is if you cut your finger. So if you cut your finger, you put a Band-Aid on it. Does the Band-Aid do the healing?
No.
Doesn't heal you, right? I mean, my granddaughter thinks it does, but it doesn't. So the Band-Aid doesn't do the healing. It does help, perhaps, but it's your cells that actually do the healing. Your cells have to stitch themselves together tightly enough that, that cut can't separate again.
Yeah.
So all medicine, it doesn't matter which camp we're in, modern medicine, traditional medicine, all medicine is simply a Band-Aid. It's simply supporting our cells in doing the work. And what's miraculous about it is my finger heals itself and it does it without me even telling it what to do. I mean,
Yeah.
isn't that pretty dang cool?
That's incredible.
So the real question we should be asking is, what do our cells need to stay well? And that's what I dive into first is, what is our body made of? And
Yep.
how does it run? And I talk a lot about what's called bioelectricity, where, people sometimes will start to look cross-eyed at me when I talk about energy. They're like, oh, she's one of those crazy people. But I always push back and say, okay, so when you go to a hospital, if you're having heart pain, you're having chest pains,
Yeah.
you go to the hospital, they're going to hook you up to an EKG, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to hear the beep, beep, beep,
Yep.
beep. What is that recording?
Your heartbeats.
Which is the electrical activity of your heart, right? If you are in a car accident and they hook you up to an EEG to see what your brain waves are doing, what is it recording? The electrical activity of your brain.
Yep.
If either of those things stop, if the beep beep goes to beep, or the brain, what happens to our bodies? We
We're no
die.
more. Yep. We're no more.
Die. So electricity is the literal thing that keeps us alive.
Yeah.
So when people start to cross their eyes when we're talking about energy, I'm like, hello, this is what
Are.
keeps you alive. This is the beep, beep, beep. No. This is
Yeah.
the energy. So here's the cool part about it. That energy that literally keeps us alive
Yeah.
is created in little manufacturing plants inside of every single cell called the mitochondria.
Mm-hmm.
And so I walk you through exactly what this means. And I think it's important to understand some of this before we get into the meat of what do I do at home? What am I going to do? You need to understand that manufacturing plant that's inside of every single cell needs certain things.
Yep.
And unless you supply it those things, it simply cannot, no matter how much you try, it cannot it cannot create the energy that you need.
Yeah.
It's absolutely impossible.
Yeah.
So what does every single cell need to be well? Because if we can keep one cell well, if we can learn that, what it takes to keep one cell well, we can keep them all well. So
Mhm.
what does every cell need? What does one cell need? It needs supplies, right? So thinking about that little power plant inside of there, it needs
Yep.
fuel to be able to then create the energy. What is that fuel? That's going to be the food we eat. That's going to be the oxygen we breathe. That's going to be the water we drink. That's the supply piece. It
Yeah.
needs support. It can't be too hot. It can't be too cold. You can't overheat. It also needs to be able to dump its garbage. It needs to be able to keep itself clean. That's the support piece every cell needs. It needs security. So if you got that little power plant going and somebody comes in and blows it up, well, that's not going to work very well. So you need a security so that the cells can keep working, and they need signals. We have to be able to have cells talking to each other and coordinating all their activities. So then I introduced the four things that every
Okay.
cell needs. And this is called the cell wall model. Every cell needs four things. So now everybody kind of goes, okay, great. Sounds great. The concepts make sense. Great. Now what? Right? Now
Right.
what?
Yeah.
So we have to figure out which of your cells need help first.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a way to do it.
Oh,
So symptoms are simply your cell's signals that something's wrong. I mean, we kind of get this, right? We go, yeah, it makes sense. But today's medicine thinks that symptoms are the problem,
mm-hmm.
right? You have a headache. What do?
Yep.
You take a pain reliever.
Right.
So all you're doing is saying the problem is the headache. So the fix is something that takes the headache away.
Mhm.
The headache is actually the symptom and the sign.
Yeah.
It's not the problem. And when we get this, but we still do it. We still go take the ibuprofen when we get a headache, because we want to feel better. So we
Right.
get it. But the
Yep.
symptoms are the signs, and it's the only way that our body has to communicate what it really needs. But our body is, I mean, this is all we got, 37 trillion cells in a big bag, and but it's telling us what we need. We just need to be able to pay attention. So I created what's called a seasons assessment
Oh,
that you take, and it's a symptomology assessment. So you're going to go plug in your symptoms. You're going to say yes, no, whatever it is. At the end of the assessment, it's going to tell you what season you're in. So now we're going back to a lot of those traditional medical systems.
yeah.
You're going to be in one of 5 seasons: spring, summer, harvest, fall, and winter. So the harvest is the new little one in the middle: harvest, fall, and winter. 5 different seasons. Why seasons? Well, let's talk through it. Everybody goes through cycles.
Hmm.
Every single body, no matter what, goes through cycles, different needs. We literally cycle through a day. We go through seasons every single day. We wake up in the morning, we're in a spring. In the summer, or in the middle of the day, we're in a summer. We got the hottest digestive fire. That's when we eat our biggest meal. We go into fall where we're kind of winding down. We're wrapping things up. We're harvesting. And then we go into winter when we're asleep and we shouldn't eat anything and we're regenerating. And then we get back to a spring first thing in the morning. So we have literal daily cycles as well as just cycles from every organ system in the body. So each organ system is represented by a season. And this comes from Chinese traditional medicine, from Ayurveda, from all of these. They all use the seasons of the earth. So let's say you take the symptom assessment and it says that your liver and gallbladder need help first, and you're in the season of spring. What symptoms might you have checked off? You might have checked off frustration, overwhelm, not feeling motivated, impatient, as well as my gut is not moving. I feel gassy and bloated. I'm gaining weight. I can't get rid of it. I got brain fog. I wake up in the morning and I just cannot think. Those are all signs that your liver and gallbladder needs help, but you've never known how to interpret them before. So this assessment helps you interpret what your body is telling you, saying, okay, liver, gallbladder, I am first. Then I walk you through, okay, so let's say you've been identified as spring season. Liver, gallbladder needs help. What are we going to do for that liver and gallbladder? Well, you do some you get the earth a little bit more. Sometimes I'll ask people like, so what grows in the spring? No idea. We're so disconnected from the earth anymore that people actually don't know.
Yeah.
But in the springtime, what grows is greens,
Yeah.
lettuce, spinach, kale, arugula, bok choy. Guess what your liver and gallbladder need?
All of
Green.
those things. Yeah.
Spinach, kale, arugula bitters, things like that help to
Yeah.
contract the gallbladder, clean the bile out, do all this. So the season gives you clues as to what those organs need. They also give you a little clue as to what the body is in. So remember I said like stuck, overwhelmed, don't feel motivation. So you are in a springtime, you're wakening things up. We're starting to get things back to life. We're really just bogged down.
Yeah.
So we're starting to refresh, starting to get things woken up again, starting to get things working again. So everything from a food instruction to movement instruction. I was just coaching a woman yesterday. She is actually in a spring.
Okay.
And she said, well, I usually go lift weights for about an hour, like at 5 a.m. every morning. I said, that is the worst thing you could be doing right now in a spring.
Yeah.
Because, and she said, I never eat before I go. First of all, if you never eat, how do your muscle cells actually put out the energy that you're asking them to do without using up some of their stores and also going into a little bit of a survival mode? She can't lose weight. Like, why would your cells let go of anything? They're never sure that you're ever going to feed them anything.
Yeah.
Hold on to everything there is. And first thing in the morning, your body's just waking up. That's the worst time to go lift weights for an hour. You've asked it to do so much on no fuel. No wonder you don't lose a pound ever. So she's like, so I can't do that anymore? I said, well, has it been working? No. I said, then the answer is no, not right now, not while you're in a spring.
Right.
Maybe when you get to a fall, maybe when it's time for those systems to be focused on, then maybe we can move back into that season. But
Yeah.
now it's not the season. Now you're going to go on a brisk walk for 15 minutes in the morning, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because we got to wake things up for you, and we're not going to overstretch them, and we're going to feed them before you do that. So does that make sense? Like it's
Yeah.
all about thinking about what season am I in? So when
Yeah.
we talk about one size fits all programs, even things like multivitamin, it just makes me laugh. I'm like, there is no one pill that's going to fix everything for everybody all the time,
Right.
365 days a year,
Right.
because our bodies go through cycles, our organs go through cycles of what needs what when, and they all have different needs. So there is no one size fits all program that's going to work for everybody every single day of the year. Never. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So these individual programs help you know what season are you in and what are you going to do?
I
What are you going to do to help with all of the cells that need the help first?
I love that. So, question about this assessment then. Let's say, you're pinpointing it's the liver and gallbladder from the assessment, and
Mhm.
then you do the work to change that, and you start to notice that those adverse symptoms are going away. Do you go back and take the assessment again, or how often can you take the assessment?
Absolutely. In fact, so now we have 90-day programs that we actually we guide
Oh,
people
cool.
through. And so the first 30 days of the program is the season you're starting with. You're
Okay.
starting at the end of that 30 days, we actually have a more specific assessment, even. We call it the cell well assessment, where we're finding out, do your cells need supplies, support, security, or signals more? Because the first 30 days, we're just hitting everything. We're giving everything the liver and gallbladder need. The next 30 days, we're saying, oh, we just really need security, man. I just keep getting infected, or, whatever it might be. And so we hone in on that. And then at the end of that 30 days, we go back and take the season's assessment again because you may be moving into a summer now. And it
Wow.
may be that your heart and your small intestine are now where we need to focus and what we need to really put every effort towards helping. That's what we should see.
Yeah.
You can even jump real fast to a harvest. And that's where we
Yeah.
need to now focus. So this is exactly how we go through it. You can retake the assessment as often as you want. I think it takes about 30 days to really see an organ system. So every cell in our body regenerates every year. Like within a year's time, every single cell that we have that like literally your entire being regenerates itself every single
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Some of the cells are regenerating every single day, some every single week, some every single month. Within about 30 days, a large majority of your cells have turned over. So that's the key piece is that now you've given your cells what they need. You've given your liver gallbladder what they need.
Yep.
So are they good now?
Right.
Is that enough? If
Yeah.
so, great. Let's take it again. Let's see. Now, what do my cells need? And we actually have another program that we call the recharge program, where
Wow.
you take 18 days on every season. So it's, how there's a lot of these detox programs and you kind of go through every single organ system and you detox. Well, I push back a little against that because I love the idea of detoxing. That's great. But once you're detoxed, you're depleted.
Right.
Well, how are you going to recharge then? You're going to be depleted and just kind of
Yeah.
shot at the end of a detox. So this is a 90-day recharge. So we take 18 days for every single season and literally recharge every organ system in the body within those 90 days time. So it might be that you don't have a ton of symptoms, that you're not really struggling. You just want to feel like amazing. You want to feel incredible. You want your body to be able to have unlimited energy. That's really my goal for everybody is unlimited energy so that you can all go and fulfill your own mission in life and do
Yeah.
your own unique potential. That's my goal for you is to live well. So it might mean that we just go through these 90-day cycles of recharging every single organ system. So everything is just firing at all, with all cylinders all the time. Because again, like I said, seasonality happens and life happens and other things happen. And it might be that you go, oh my gosh, I think I need to take an assessment again. I'm
Yeah.
in fall. Who could have called that? All right,
Yeah.
fall. Lungs, here we go, lungs. You need some help. Let's work on you. Lungs immune system. All right, let's kick it into gear. What do you need? And then you work through the formula for that organ system.
I love that. I just everything that you've shared about the assessment and the seasonality piece, how dominant that is in the whole change and evolution of the body, is so fascinating. I mean, I never thought about it in the ways that you're sharing. I have always at least over the last 5 years, been really in tune with my feminine cycle, and that also, follows the seasons as well.
Absolutely.
So I just love how this compares so beautifully with that as well.
Mhm.
Um, this is just incredible. I mean, and it's nothing groundbreaking. Like you said, we've had all of this all along. You're just pulling it all together for us. Thank you so much for doing that, pulling it all together so that we can actually utilize it to heal ourselves.
Yep. Yep, that's exactly it. It's just trying to translate it. And the interesting thing is when I was writing the book, I absolutely had this big time inspiration God moment that said, this is not about you. This book is not about you. It's not about anything that you're going to do. So actually, all profits from the book are going to charity. So everything is going to charities that support the earth. So regenerative agriculture, clean water, clean air charities, because this book isn't about me. This is about helping all of you live well, live your ultimate potential, live and do the things that you're meant to do here on the earth. So that's what it's about. And honestly, that is what's most exciting for me about this book. So I haven't asked for anybody that's listening to this.
Yes, yes.
Um, we absolutely need pre-orders for the book because that is how booksellers know that people are interested in this topic. So my publisher, the booksellers, they're kind of looking at me in fact, when I first presented this offer, I had a couple of even agents turn me down. Or when I, not sorry, this offer, when I first presented this concept, they were like, this is too like woo-woo. This is too out there. This is too much like a personality test. I'm like, no, it's not. But
Mhm.
that's okay. That's all right. You aren't getting it. Finally, I found a fabulous agent who got it. And then she found me a fabulous publisher who got it. But these are the concepts that are going to take us from here to where we need to go as a world, honestly, from a health standpoint and from a just a longevity standpoint, all these kinds of things. So we need to let the publishers and the booksellers know that we want these topics to be heard. We
Yeah.
want more books about this. So when you pre-order, it tells these booksellers, oh, this actually is something that people are wanting to know more about. Okay, we better give offers to more authors that are talking about this, or we better print more of these books or put them at the front of our store. So if you do a pre-order, which means you pre-order the book before May 20th, which when it releases, you go to livingwellbook.com, you then go back to my site. So you go on that page, livingwellbook.com, you go order the book. It has the links on there where to go to order it. Then you go back to the page,
Yep.
say, yep, here's my order number, type
Yep.
in your info. You're going to get the assessment for free. So you're going to get that season's assessment right off the bat. You don't have to wait for the book to come. It's going to come right now. And then you're going to get a first steps guide, which is going to say, okay, you just tested as a summer. Now what? Now what are you going to do about it? So it's going to walk you through all of those things before the book even comes out. So go on, pre-order, take your assessment, start learning about it. That way, when the book comes out, you are all ready to hit the ground running to
Yeah.
then be able to really create your formulas and maximize everything that you've learned here. So thank you for allowing me the
Well,
ask.
no brainer. Yeah, absolutely. No brainer. After we get off here, I am going to pre-order mine and get
You.
started on this like ASAP. Yes, everyone listening, go get the book. Like Dr. Michelle just told you, why not? Like you're getting a head start before the book even comes out, and then the book will support you the rest of the way when it's out in May. I love
Exactly.
that. That's incredible. And proceeds going to right back into the earth. Like, I mean, it can't be more beautiful than that. Just a full circle moment for this book.
Yep.
That is incredible. So I have to know then, what's next? Do you foresee like there being a next step for this book, like a continuation of like once you have, gone through and you've taken the assessment and you've gotten to that point where you feel very energized and you feel optimal. Is there a next step for us?
So for me, what's been really amazing is I've been able to figure out that there are people that want to know this, that people want to be, just like you're saying, where
Yeah.
is our, so how do we do this? And
Yes.
so it's going to require some ongoing support because we live in a hard world. And I have a whole chapter about that. Like we live in kind of a hard world right now, where
Yeah.
we live in a place where there's a lot of toxins, there's a lot of things that are kind of trying to beat ourselves up,
Yep.
even environmentally and genetically. We have
Yeah.
some things that we're up against, we're challenged with all the time.
Yep.
So it requires ongoing support. So the cool thing that we're building is we're building some communities around this, which I'm really excited about. So everybody can support one another as
Oh,
life hits them, so you can stay at that optimal place. But this is one of the things that I'm most excited about. I love to cook and I love to garden and I love, those are kind of my worlds.
yep.
And so I have actually formulated or in the middle of formulating right now support drink and a support supplement makes it very, very simple for each season. So you say, okay, I'm in a
Oh,
harvest season, right? Here's the drink you're going to drink. I'm the beta tester for all of these. So I'm currently drinking the summer drink every day because that's what I'm testing out right now.
I
It's
love
super
it.
delicious, first of all. But I am like an energizer bunny. And summer is all about heart and small intestine and energy. It's the fire element. And
Okay.
so it's all about the heat and just, all this. And I'm like, I am feeling it, man. I am going like
Yeah.
14, 16 hours a day. And I can
Wow.
tell that I have the energy that I need to do it. So
Yeah.
it's have all the things like that that can continue to support along the way with this. And then what I'm really excited about is hoping that this is going to be eventually a show where you can all participate in and say, okay, I'm feeling like this. I want this. I'm feeling really great, but this one little thing, okay, come in, watch this, learn this. And it's just going to be an ongoing supportive process where we can all
Wow.
just help each other be our best at all the time.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for all of this. The,
Me
Dr.
too.
Michelle, this is incredible. This is
Oh, thank you.
incredible. I hope you know that like you have been and will continue to be changing lives like literally a day at a time here. This is so phenomenal. I just thank you so much for coming on. How can men and women who are listening in, how can they connect with you? What would be the best way for them to connect with you?
So Living Well with Dr. Michelle is the website. It's
Okay.
also all the social channels. So go
Yep.
check out Living Well with Dr. Michelle. I have all sorts of stuff for free on there everywhere. Go check it out, whether it be dental health or, gardening or any of those kinds of things. And then obviously now overall body health. So Living Well with Dr. Michelle, that's where to go. Check it out. Go pre-order the book, livingwellbook.com. And I just appreciate all of you.
Oh, well, again, Dr. Michelle, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait to have this book out, and I can't wait tonight to pre-order and get all my bonus goodies and get going. So, woo! Thank you again so much.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you, everything you do.
Absolutely.